Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome to the Talking Pools podcast with Wayne and Steve on this fine Thursday afternoon. A lot of things have happened over the past week. You know, the really bad hurricanes down on my side of the country. Fortunately, it really didn't hit us, just a little bit of rain and a few overcast days, but gotta express support and solitude for everybody and from Florida all the way up into the Carolinas, actually. With what they're going through. So, say a prayer and donate and all that other nice, neat stuff that is available to us who are not in the area to help them out. We're going to talk about something really kind of fun, in a way today. We're going to talk, we're going to talk about why we don't live in a perfect world in the pool side of life. In a perfect world, you've got commercial accounts, you've got residential accounts, and this is more geared towards Steve today, who pay you regularly and, love your service and, bring you coffee and donuts every time you show up, that kind of thing, and then you have the other customers who don't make your life happy. And I know Steve and I were talking before we recorded here. He's got some recent stories that he can share with us about, I won't say assholes, but I will. Customers that don't cooperate, let's put it like that, or think they know better or whatnot. So, Steve, I'm going to pass this baton on to you and just go and say the occasional, because it's your life there, bud.
I also, hello everybody, and I wanted to express some, what was going on with North Carolina and Florida as well, because I was just over in North Carolina a few weeks ago, and we had just missed that first hurricane there, and it's always a surprise with August and September, and sometimes even into October with what's going on. So, the big thing too is that, with what's going on with Asheville, nobody expected that to happen there, right? Nobody was saying this is where this is going to happen. A lot of times they're really good with the weather centers and they're saying, we're going to have it. It's going to be right here, or, and you can prepare and evacuate and things like that. But it's something that all of us just kind of have to pay attention to and just make sure, because those people didn't think that was going to happen, and they wound up getting some of the worst flooding, more than anybody.
And of all places, Asheville, because it's up on a mountain.
Right. So it's not just coastal. It's not just coastal places anymore that are getting the brunt of this. So obviously our climate is changing, and we really have to just make sure that we're paying attention to this stuff and also educating our customers and letting them know. I saw something on Facebook where somebody, they were like, the storm's coming, and they drained their pool out. And then, bam, their pool popped out. And if they don't know any better, if you're not going to tell them, and sometimes they'll just go ahead and do it on their own. So you have to make sure that you're educating your customers and educating your staff. And then I saw people were stuck in a warehouse and stuff. They were still working during the storm. And I know that we work outside, so it's easy for us to just say, hey, we're not working today. But you really need to make sure that you guys are safe out there, and that you're not working, anytime that there's thunder or lightning or things like that, it's real serious, that you don't want to make sure that you're not out at the pool. And they have really good, if you go to the Weather Channel app, they have an awesome radar system that you can actually just, look at it, and you can see the live radar for the next 3 hours. So you can kind of plan your day. And it's been really helpful to me when I was on the East Coast. So, but getting to our topic, and getting into it, we're going to talk about us, my company getting fired a couple times. And we prided ourselves the first 5-6 years that we were in business that we didn't lose any clients. We lost less than 1% of clients. We still lose less than 1% of what we have, because we think we do really good business. And if there is a problem, we have an open door policy, so my clients know that they can call and we can talk about it. And most of the time I will say oh my God, we were in the wrong. I am sorry, and we will take care of this for you, either in a credit or something like that. But it does happen where you wind up taking on these jobs, and a lot of the times it's at the beginning when you first start, right? Because you need the money and you have to take on everything that comes to you. Where now, being a little bit more established in business, you can not pick and choose your clientele, but you're screening them first, right? Before they come on board. You're having a phone conversation with them, and you're giving them a quote, or you're going out to see the pool. And a lot of times, you can go into someone's backyard and you can see whoa, there's dog shit all over the yard here,
The mobile WaterLink Spin Touch allows pool and spa professionals the ability to test water in the field. A patented WaterLink Spin reagent disc is used with the innovative photometer to measure 10 different tests in just 60 seconds. That's right, just 60 seconds, and you'll have results displayed simultaneously on the photometer's touchscreen. That's not all. You also have the ability to send the data through Bluetooth into a smartphone or a tablet device. The photometer can measure free chlorine, bromine, total chlorine, combined chlorine, pH, alkalinity, hardness, cyanuric acid, copper, iron, phosphate, borate, biguanide shock, and salt. The water analysis can be proactive since they are able to measure all of these important tests and recommend correct procedures to fix their water chemistry issues when using our WaterLink Solutions Pro software program. It allows pool and spa analysts the best way to achieve precise results. So simple, anyone can use it. This is the most advanced system for precise use of wet chemistry methods ever produced. Pool and spa analysts can achieve precision without time-consuming tests or cleanup procedures. This groundbreaking analysis system is so simple, no vials to fill, no prep time, no guessing. To learn more about this innovative lab, visit www.waterlinkspintouch.com. Again, www.waterlinkspintouch.com.
Whoa, like there's dog shit all over the yard here, you know?
Yeah.
And you walk into this backyard and like there's shit just like strewn all over the place and stuff. Like these are the types of clients that usually aren't going to pay their bills on time. You know, like if they don't have a tidy backyard, like they use their checkbook usually is in order. And that's not every single person, but like if you can't even keep your house in order and you're not like walking through their house and looking at their kitchen and stuff, but I'm just like talking about things that I have seen over the years where like a lot of these people, you walk into their backyard and I walk out and I'm like, I don't even know if I would want to go into their backyard, you know, every week. So sometimes they're out just at that, you know, and then you discuss and you negotiate and you settle on a price and you have to make sure, again, that that price is going to net you some money. So you need to make sure, like, if you're, you know, paying a guy to do the pool for you, that you're number one, paying him well, and you're still able to make money. So that's a hard, you know, number to get to. And we do talk in other episodes about how to come to those numbers and make sure that you're really making money. But again, back to the gatekeeping. Okay. A lot of times, like at the beginning, you'll know, like, I don't want this client. But this time, you know, I spoke to this lady's husband and he was the one that did all this stuff. And he did say on the phone that his wife was a tad bit particular. Whenever my guy would go to do the pool, they literally would sit in the living room, turn on the camera and like watch him on the big screen TV like he was a reality show. Okay, because he could see, he could hear the camera, like it would turn on, it would whistle when it would turn on. And he was like, bro, it would turn on like 30 times while I was there. And I don't mind the customers watching them, but basically what was happening after COVID is everybody had nothing to do. So they were home. And now they were like, what am I paying X amount of dollars for? Like, I'm going to watch this guy. So they watch him and they would call me and be like, Steve, I watched your guy today, you know, and he didn't vacuum the pool. And I was like, okay, oh my God. I was like, Mr. Jones, I'm sorry. I'm like, okay. I'm like, are you out at the pool right now? And he goes, yeah, I'm standing at the, you know, on the coping. I'm like, okay. I'm like, is the pool dirty? And he's like, no, it looks fantastic. But what the hell am I paying you guys for? And I had to take like a deep breath. And I was like, okay. So what you're saying is that my guy didn't break out like the blue vacuum hose today. So he didn't vacuum the pool. But I give my guys autonomy to basically clean your pool however they need to. We have these awesome wireless vacuums. Like we use this one vacuum called the Leaf Demon, and it has this little propeller in it. And it's like a $200 vacuum that is cordless, and it does everything that like the Riptide does, but it's totally cordless. And then we use these like other sand vacuums that are like also made from the same company, WaterTech. We use those for like spot vacuuming and things like that. So they always bring both of those vacuums with them, and then they're always bringing the brush. And this lady that we had gotten fired from, her husband had basically texted and said, we're stopping pool service. I'm going to take care of the pool myself, and maybe we'll hire you again next year. And she called a few minutes later and she's like, he wasn't being honest with you. And this is the first time I've ever talked to her on the phone. She was like, we're firing you because your guy didn't scrub the pool. And I did wind up changing my contracts to say we would vacuum the pool if needed and we would leaf net the pool if needed. It says that we will brush the pool every single time we're there. If I find out that one of my guys like didn't actually brush the pool, man, he would be in so much trouble. Like they know that that is the most serious thing because it is the most important thing that you have to do to prevent algae is brushing the walls and floors. Like that's it. And, you know, they get away with not having to brush the floors as much because a lot of our clients have those either Dolphin vacuums or the Polaris vacuums that are robotic cleaners. We really like the robotic cleaners. They do a great job. So like when my guy comes, now he only has to be there for 15 to 25 minutes instead of an hour, hour and a half. But she said that he didn't brush the pool. So because we use one of those capturing apps, all of our notes are in there. So he had a before picture, he had an after picture, and I went into the before and after picture and Wayne, this pool was fucking immaculate. Like when I tell you that there was nothing immaculate. And I said to her, I was like, look, this is this conversation and this story that I tell in class. Like, this is you. I don't know how else to explain this, but like my guy is not in trouble for the job that he did. You need, and she was like, well, my electric bill is $500 more. I was like, why is your electric? And she was like, it's from the vacuum. I was like, the robotic vacuum cleaners, you know, don't do, they're 12 volts. Like even if they went on 2 hours for the day, they're not going to be $500 for the month. And I forgot that she has a cleaner, a suction side cleaner that goes into either the vacuum port or the skimmer. I was like, how long are you running your, she goes, all the time.
Ding, 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 ding.
So now I had to explain to her that the pump only needs to really run 6 to 8 hours, maybe 10 hours if it was the middle of the summer and like you were having issues and stuff. And that's another thing. Like if you are having issues with algae, we're still having some issues with algae. And you need this pool to clear up and it either has algae or it's cloudy. Take the timer pins off or run it in service mode and run it 24/7 until it clears up. Because if you're running on an 8 hour, you know, the pump's only running on for 8 hours and then off for 16. It takes you 3 days to run one 24-hour period. Where if you take the timer pins off and you're running 24/7, now in a 3-day period, you're running 72 hours. You're not running, you know, just a 24-hour period in 3 days. So she's been running her pool 24/7 every day, you know. So that was actually what was going on with that. And I had to explain to her that, hey, you can actually dial that back. And we had already been fired at this point, you know, and I still actually was talking to her on the phone and just educating her a little bit about what was going on, because most of the clients that call me or most of the potential clients that call me are not going to make it to become a client. They're going to either balk at the price that we're giving them, because most guys around here are like around like $80 to $100 less a month, I'm sure. And I have to quantify it to them that all of our guys are, you know, certified and they have all their own insurance and they are actually proper 1099s and they actually run their own companies. So they're just, you know, they're subcontracting for me. So we have to kind of explain that to some people and do things the right way. But again, it's not that wasn't a client that we really wanted, I don't think. But again, I wasn't able to screen them because I spoke with the significant other in that aspect. So do make sure that when you go to the pool, if you're the one that's going to the pool and that other significant other is there, that you talk to them a little bit and like you just make sure that you guys are kind of on the same page as well. Because a lot of times what I've also found out is like they'll have a household where the two people in the household don't speak to each other. And like so the one is supposed to tell the other something, or, you know, you had like an issue and like now they're talking about like the same issue and you already resolved it and you already talked about it, but now you're having to go back and, you know, talk about it again and different things like that. And then you have different clients. I have a client right now where he's like, hey, I need you to come out and fix this, you know? And it's like, well, it's like after the initial visit, man, like that's not my job anymore. You know, like I have, my guys are coming to do the pool. They're doing the you know, any of the installations, anything that's breaking, like my service manager is coming and doing that. Like I can troubleshoot you and, you know, take whatever, you know, I can set up the appointment for you over the phone, but I'm not the guy that's going out in the field and doing that. So you have to be really clear with these people too, of like, sometimes all of a sudden, like you go for 3 weeks in a row and now your guy goes and they're like, wait, whoa, what happened to you? And now they're all upset because you're not their pool guy and they feel like they got hoodwinked by you. So you have to, at the beginning, you have to set the precedence of like, hey, this is exactly what's going on, and I'm not going to be the one that's here, or I am going to be the one that's here, but I'm going to be hiring someone. So, in the future, in like a month or two, I'm hoping to have, someone come out and do it. And people are really weird about like their pool guy. And like if you switch your pool guy, like one of my guys is in school. So like I had to take a couple of his pools from him and give it to another guy. And now you have like another guy show up and it causes like a problem, So So that's on the residential side, because you're meeting and getting, there's so much going back and forth, right? For you to pick these people up. And it's not like super serious. Like a lot of times, like you don't have to send out a contract. They're like, all right, cool, let's get started. So like, boom, you get started right then and there, where with commercial clients, there's way more red tape and way more different hoops that you need to jump through to get that account. Most of the time, you're either going to need like your contractor's license or some sort of licensing.
I was going to say, but before you jump in on the commercial thing, you made a really, really good point about, if you should send in another pool guy or gal instead of their regular person. It's kind of the same way with your car. I mean, if you find a good mechanic that works in your car and that they're reliable, they do a good job, they do the right job, they don't overcharge you. You like this person, but if you take the car back, you take the car back and that guy or gal isn't there anymore, and somebody else is working on your car. You got to be a little bit, no, I'm not sure about this guy. I don't know if he's good or not or whatnot. So as a consumer, I can kind of understand that, but you also have to realize that somebody like you would not send somebody in place of their regular person that doesn't know what they're doing. And like you said, is certified, knows their stuff, knows what to do, does a great job, that kind of thing. We're not going to send some schlep around over there that, just throws a tab and a skimmer and walks away. Yeah. So, I can kind of understand that. But in the same light, the customer has to understand that you're doing your due diligence and you're doing the right thing by them by sending them somebody who does know what they're doing and can do the job right.
I couldn't agree more with that, Wayne. And that's a great point. You business owners out there, the way to not have this happen is, with the mechanic, maybe they're not going to call you and tell you like, hey, your guy left. Maybe they left on bad terms or whatever. But you as a business owner, if you're the one that's communicating with these clients, you can't just send someone new out there because then, I totally understand that client is going to be like, who the fuck is this new guy coming in here,
Yeah.
And then like if that guy doesn't do something like, let's say like he forgot the water or like, he does something that's like boneheaded, but it happens, then that's like a really bad, they're like, oh, this guy sucks, and they start off on the wrong foot. So the way to get ahead of that is to make sure that you prepare your client for that. You say, and how I do that is like, if I have a guy and I'm the one doing the pool, I'm never going to like just send him out. I'm always going to go with him there for like at least 2, 3, 4 visits to kind of show him like, hey, backyards are weird, right? Like sometimes there's like an autofill with like a pipe like behind this tree that you need to turn on. Or like there's like the cover thing is, the cover on and off switch is like on the back side of where the garage is. So it's like behind the house, on the one side or something like that. I've had like crazy stuff.
Right.
So now you have your guy there and he is like walking around for 10 minutes and the client comes out and he's like, hey, can I help you? And they're like, well, I can't get the cover off. I can't get the cover open. And it's like, that's annoying to a client. Like you don't even know they sent you here and you don't even know how to like work the cover and stuff, which that's annoying, and I get that. And that's why my whole point is you need to communicate with the client and let them know, hey, in 3 weeks, I'm going to have a new guy starting. So the next few weeks, me and him are going to be there together. If you want to, and I always tell my new guys too, I'm like, there's certain clients where at the beginning, like the client is just going to stand there and talk to you the whole time and follow you around. Right. Like they are not going to go inside. Like they are just going to sit there the whole time and watch you and like be like, oh, what are you doing? And blah, blah, blah. And ask you like a million questions. So like I've had to also tell them like too, like, hey, like this guy that's coming, like he's good, but like he only cleans the pool. So like if you got a question about the heater or you got a question about the pump or something, like other than like him programming the pump and turning it off and on and backwashing the filter, like that's all he's required to do. You know, like I'm not going to make him troubleshoot the heater if something's wrong with the heater. Like if there's an error code, I'd love for him to say, oh, it's an E29 or whatever, you know, because if it's a LO code, then I'm like, okay, backwash the filter and we're in business. We're back in business.
Yeah.
But my whole point here is like, if you got to come, and that's why like I'm on group text messages with my guys, you know, and that protects, and it's a pain in the ass for me to have to get text messages at 6 and I just have my notification silenced. You know, my guys are out 5:36 in the morning at their first pool, texting the guy that they're meeting at the pool, hey, you know, I'm going to be on site at this time. And it's annoying, but I've had it happen where people were like, your guy didn't come today, you know? So now I don't have to make a phone call to my guy and say, hey, did you go there today? I can just look back in my text messages and I can say, oh, he came at this time. And then I'd go into the notes and I'd see the before and after pictures. I'd see whatever notes they needed to leave me. I'd see what the readings were that day. And then I'd also see what they put into the pool as well.
Cool.
So
commercial, jump into that puppy, because this is a good story too.
So with commercial, we finally got paid from that client. Right before this, actually, and you know they wound up like putting on a credit card or something crazy because they said the check was cut, and then I asked them, I said, hey, show me a picture of the check. I was like, I'm not going to wait another 3 weeks to get paid for this, so I was like, I want you to show me a picture of the check. And then he wrote back and said, oh well, actually we're having a problem getting it processed, so you know we're going to have to talk to the company. And I was like, there is no talking to this payment company. I was like, here's what's going to happen. I was like, you guys are going to Venmo me, you're going to Zelle me, or I'm going to come pick up cash. I was like, it's $600. I was like, I bet you guys had dinner reservations and dinner plans that wound up being more than that last week if you went out with 6 people. I'm like, it's not like we're talking about multiple thousands of dollars here. And I was like, this has been going on for months. And I was like, you said last week that that by the end of the week, it would be all squared away. And I gave you most of this week. It's now Thursday today. I was like, so I was like, by the end of the day today, I need this to be resolved, you know? And I had said to them, I was like, hey, you know, next week I have a renovation that I did. And with renovations, you have to have the health department come out and meet them. So I'm going to meet the health department next week. And he was like, well, I just wanted to let you know on that note that the filters are working really great. They've been working properly since you've left.
And remember, this is a customer you fired, or they fired you.
They fired me. Yeah, they fired.
So you don't really even work for him anymore.
Right. And that's when my tone changed a little bit, because when we were still working with them, we were like, well, we're still going. Like, we're going to wind up getting paid eventually. So we really can't. But once they fired us, then I was like, hey, I really need you to pay. And then they dragged it on for 2 months. So my only recourse was like, I'm going to call the health department. There's nothing else that I could do at this point. And I don't want to have to do that or be like that. And I would never do that. But they were being so terrible about it. And I said to them at the end, I said to this guy, I was like, look, this has left the worst taste in my mouth. And it's because the person that I was working with, I was like, you've been fine. The person that I was working with, they kept saying that, oh, this is okay. And then they just stopped answering my phone calls. And then you fired us via email. And now you owe us this last bit of money, but you just keep pushing it off. So that was my whole point, that if they keep pushing it off, like I have no other recourse. But my whole point to them was and this is why I was so pissed about it. They asked me to write up a whole kind of like report. And I told them everything that they needed to fix. And I gave them a quote to say, this is how much it would be for us to fix it. They have a leak in their spa. Their sand and their filters needed to be changed out. And that's where he didn't understand. Like, it's just the sand that needs to be changed out in the filters. Not that they're not working properly. It's just the pool is cloudy and it doesn't clear up as quick as it should. The issue is that in California, you have to have some sort of constant chlorination is what they say. So that could be from a salt cell. That could be from even a tablet feeder. That could be from liquid chlorine feed. But they really want it attached to like an automation system. So I was just saying to him that the automation system is not working. And that's why you guys are not in compliance. And there's a few quick ways to fix that, you know, but I'm not gonna offer that up now that I'm not your client anymore. And I just said to him, I was like, it's not even that I'm not your client anymore. I was like, I shouldn't have to be calling you 3 weeks down the road after you said we were going to get this done. And now we're still having this conversation. So he was like, I understand. And he called back and, he wound up giving us a credit card over the phone and it was fine. And now we can walk away and I'm fine with that. But again, it just goes back to like the scope of work. And the big thing for me is that, and I always tell my employees this, and I'm going to tell you business owners out there this, do what you say you're going to do. It's the one thing that in business that I've tried to live by. And I also, in my personal life too, I try and do what I say I'm going to do. And that's all anyone can really ask from you, right? Like if you tell someone that you're going to do something, even if you don't do it, or like I've had it happen with clients where like I sent them a proposal for an automation system and Pentair's automation systems, they went up 9% or something crazy in just this past month. So they had a price increase. Yeah. So that amounted to like $400, $500, almost $500 on some of their product. So now you send someone a quote, and that's why these quotes really only can be valid for 30 days because these price increases go up so quickly that you can't do that. And now you have to go. And I went back to the client and I said, hey, this price here, it's not valid anymore. And that's not going back on what you say you're going to do. You know what I mean? But you have to get ahead of it and you have to go and tell this client that, hey, this is the new quote here because that quote that price isn't really valid anymore is really what it comes down to. And that sucks, but you have and I've also had it happen where like like I said a few episodes ago, that's why we don't acid wash Pebble Tech pools anymore. And I had to eat a job because we acid washed it and the pebbles started coming out. And I knew it wasn't our fault per se. I knew it was from the staining and how bad it was and all that stuff. But like at that point, it was like we were the last professionals on site. We're the ones that messed this up. So, you got to kind of figure it out. And sometimes you just in business, you have to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, even though it costs you a little bit of money or whatever it may be. And the worst thing out there is to have people out there that know that you do bad business because word of mouth is everything. We don't really do too much marketing as far as that goes. And we've grown pretty organically, which is kind of nice. And there's nothing wrong with using Yelp or using Google and different things like that. They really do help and they'll help you grow, especially at the beginning. And it's something to definitely look into. But those reviews and different things like that, you have to be like almost 100%, in those where and that's why you talk to all these customers and you have these follow-up phone conversations with people. Anyone that we ever get fired from, I always reach out to them and I say, hey, was there a problem? And, what was that problem? And in the future, is there something that we can do better, to make that better? And I also tell my clients all the time, I'm like, look, if you tell me something, I'm like, I'm not necessarily going to go and run and tell my guy. Like if you have an issue, like you just bring it to me right away and we'll figure it out. It's not a big deal. And again, like sometimes it's super warranted where they'll say something and they're like, hey, like your guy left the water on, or your guy left the pool in backwash and now 3/4 of the pool is gone. There's certain things that are like way bigger deals than other things. I've had it where someone was like, hey, your guy was here for 7 minutes. And I looked and like he had it that he was there for like 11 or 12 minutes and he was counting his time in the car. And I'm fine with you counting the time in the car. That's not a big deal from when you walk in and when you walk out. But what the fuck did you get done in 7 minutes?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's like that's the real question. Like, what did you actually do in 7 minutes? Because when I go to the pool, even when I go, it's because Jen and I usually will go together if we have pools to do. And Jen will like be the official water tester and I will come and I'll clean the pool and then she'll tell me what chemicals to get. I'll run to the truck. I'll bring the shit back that I'm done with. I'll grab from the truck the chemicals and then I put in the chemicals and then we brush and then we get out of there. But like even at our quickest, like if we're out of there in less than 20 minutes, it was like immaculate when we showed up, So that's the big deal. And that's the problem of like, how many pools are you doing out there, guys? And I've found that quality of life really goes down once you get into not the 40 range. The 40 and 50 range is like doable. But once you get to 60 pools, and you're doing 60 stops, even if these 60 stops are like really close together, 60 is the magic number. Once you get past 60, shit starts to fall off the rails. Because now you're like forgetting stuff. You have so much, and this is like, are you only doing service? Like that's a crazy amount of service to do. But then like who's doing your repairs and different things like that. And again, like if you guys are at the point where you're only doing service, you're doing yourself a disservice. Like if you're not out there, if a customer of yours has a heater problem and you have to go call another guy to go get that done, like that's money out of your pocket. So what you should be doing is partnering with people in your area that do better than you. And you go and you get a mentor and you tell someone, hey, like you do heater installations and heater repair. Can I have you come and do, like I'll tell you what I need done and I'll do the troubleshooting, or you come and troubleshoot or whatever. You tell me what you want and you bill me, and then I'll bill the client. And now you get to make money for doing nothing. And you tell the guy like, hey, can I come and meet you when you do the job? And now you can come and get on the job training by just splitting the job with the guy. And I do that with 3 or 4 people here in Los Angeles, where anytime they have a heater problem or they want a salt cell installation or they need automation or even to put in a timer box or something like that. I'm always really trying to, partner with people, especially from the guys that are like to take the CPO class that come through and that are running their own businesses in Los Angeles. A lot of them, they're just getting started and they're taking the CPO class because that's the place to start. So they wind up learning so much in the CPO class because we're not talking in the CPO class. We're not just talking about, and my job is for me to get them to pass the exam. So I'm helpful with that. But also once you're done with the class, like you're out there on your own. So we talk about measuring out chemicals and how to save money on chemicals and different things like that, where, with the contractor's license test or like your LA County, you need to do pools in LA County for residential or commercial. You need this LA County license and you have to go take an exam for it. But like they're expecting you to know all of this information already coming in to take this exam. But in most of the states, CPO is like the de facto, not contractor's license, but what you need to take care of commercial pools, to do those hotel pools and different things like that. And they're really hard to break into, but they're really, really good if you can wait 60 to 90 days to get paid. That's the big one with commercials too. That sometimes you'll have out, tens of thousands of dollars in billing, different things like that, because you have 3 or 4, pretty big commercial accounts. And now you're like sitting there and you're like, okay, I hope we get paid this week, but that's a situation where like, you can't call them and be like, hey, give me my money. They're your client. Like, they have a processing department, and that processing department and HR department and stuff could be in a different state where, they're not even in the same time zone and different things like that. I've had a lot of people where like the billing office is in Florida or it's in Colorado or New York or different things like that. So those are kind of some of the things with, commercial clients that are a bit different than the residential clients. The difference is though, they're, with how you treat them, there's really no difference. I try and treat every client like they're my number one. And anytime that a client calls, I'm usually picking up the phone like right then and there. I promise people in CPO, I used to promise 24 hours. I promise 48 hours now, just because we're so busy. And Jen was like, because she was like, no, she's like, you're not getting back to these people in 24 hours. Like, you shouldn't be. She's like, you're not doing what you say. And I was like, oh shit, I'm not. So I was like, let's be more realistic with it. Let's do, 48 hours and we'll get back to you. And it's just hard. It's, and even I have mentors, like, the guy that I'm doing the show with, right? So when I have a question and it has chemistry and stuff like that, like I'm going to Wayne. When I have, Rudy said to me the other day, he was like, why didn't you ask me about that black algae question? And I was like, I'm so busy. Like, I didn't even think about it. I asked the group, and Andrew was the one who was, that answered the question for me. And he was like, he's like, there's a few different things that I would do. So he was like, just hit me up anytime. And I just love that I still 20 years in the industry, that I still have people that I can go to. And, my education journey is not over. It's I'm still learning every day. And, even though you're retired, Wayne, I was like, what? I texted you the other day and I was like, what's this that comes in the thing here? It looks like a syringe. And he was like, that doesn't come with that. And then he was like, wait, maybe he's like, things have changed since I left.
Yeah, it's possible.
But I mean, it's like, everything's, everything's constantly changing all the time. And, In the pool industry, I feel like we're a little bit behind. We're like with technology and stuff. I feel like we're probably like a decade behind with like all of our stuff, with the way that all of like the beta stuff works on the phone, and all the apps are a lot better, but like the user experience and the the user interface, the UI, it's not great. It feels like you're on like a DOS computer and you're like, okay, and it just like loads up, and it's so much better than it's been. I really do appreciate the commercial automation systems where now you can say with the ORP, like, okay, you can set it and not forget it. But again, like with those, it's every automation system's a little bit different, but they all work the same. And for the pH, you just go and you calibrate it and you hit it, and the ORP is a little bit more difficult, but it still works the same. And for me, like they're all coming out with the PPM now that has the ORP and the PPM, and I don't even bother to use the PPM because it actually uses like this crazy calculation, and it tells you like what it should be. But the big thing for me that was always confusing was like with the ORP is like it could be 750 ORP and the chlorine could be 10, and it could be 750 and it could be 0. It doesn't, there's no direct correlation. So I think that that's the hardest thing to explain to people with the boxes, but I feel like that's some of the best technology that we have.
Yeah. Yeah. I always think about when I first started in the industry in 91 is what was around back then. And the whole idea of like a robotic cleaner, a cordless robotic cleaner, or, efficient ORP systems and things like that are out there now. It's like, oh my God. It's the same way when I started, nobody ever heard of a cell phone before. We didn't get, I didn't get a cell phone, a company phone until like 99 or 2000. And back then it was like a brick, that kind of thing. Yeah. And computers and things like that. So yeah, it's grown in a positive format. And yeah, we are kind of a little bit slow. I remember the last episode I was talking about, one of the questions I used to get at trade shows is that, when are you going to come out with the thing I just stick in the water and it gives me all my parameters in one shot?
I feel like I feel like the magic wand should be coming pretty soon, I think. But
I've been telling people the magic wand's been coming for about 25 years.
Yeah, maybe we're going to have to wait a little bit longer. I do love the cordless vacuums though. The LED ones, because we can take them back, but the ones that you leave in, like Polaris just came out with like and then like BetaBot has one that are cordless. My problem with the cordless ones that you just throw in the pool and go do their thing, they only do one cycle. So now either the tech or the homeowner has to go and grab it and charge it and then put it back in. And again, whether my clients are super rich or super working class, none of them touch the pool. That's the problem. Like I just had this conversation with one of my clients yesterday. I was like, hey, he was like, let's get the cordless one. And I was like, are you going to go do this? I was like, tell me the truth. I'm like, are you going to go do that? And he was like, no, he's like, I'm not going to do that. So maybe if it did like 3 or 4 cycles and you had to grab it like every 3 days or every 4 days or something like that. But again, the technology is like just getting there. So I really love them. And I think in a few years, they're going to be great. But nothing can substitute for a vacuum being in the pool, living in there, and going on for 14 hours during the week. Because now the pool, I always tell all my clients, if you have a salt cell and you have a robotic cleaner, it looks like the pool guy has been there every single day, instead of it looking like, boom, they're just there on Thursday or just there on Friday or whatever. Because now it's adding its own chlorine and it's cleaning the shit out of it.
Yep. Yeah, those robotic cleaners are like my Roomba. You got to charge it. You got to press that start button or use the app to start it and let it go do its thing. And by the way, my Roomba's name is Rita. You get to name the Roomba. So yeah, Rita the Roomba. I think we pretty much discussed our asses off today. So again, we appreciate all of our listeners. You know that by now. And anytime that we can offer any kind of assistance or guidance or whatever, we do greatly appreciate it and are here for you. Our email address is talkingpools@gmail.com. Please send over your question. A suggestion for a topic is even good. I mean, there's a whole bunch of us in the group that have a variety of different experiences and backgrounds. And I'm sure that one of us, even the guys over in Australia, who live on seems like another planet sometimes. That they have similar situations. So sorry, Peter, but yeah, please send them to us. And if we happen to use your topic or talk about your question, we'll be more than happy to send you a little thank you Talking Pools podcast.
And sometimes we'll all take the topic on too.
True.
There's been times where there's been a week and we've all talked about the same topic, and there's been 5 different shows on the same topic, because none of us we're all bringing something different to the table, is really what it comes down to. And like I said, we can all talk the same thing and wind up with 5 different shows, just because we're all coming from so much different education backgrounds and different things like that, where, Wayne, you're the chemistry guy and you have so much to bring to the table with that. So I always love listening to you with all that, because
well, and I decided to start looking like you with the balder head and the beard thing. So I got a little ways to go
until your next show, when they make you grow something
until
different.
The next show that I do. That's right. Well, this is all for Santa, because I do a lot of Santa things in December. So like breakfast for Santa and things like that. So got to get a little longer so I can spray paint it white and the wig covers the head. But yeah, it's absolutely. Thank God I can grow hair here, not here. So with that all being said, because I really don't want to talk about my bald head, guys, gals, thank you so much. You guys have a fantastic week. Please be safe out there. Give your family a hug and your pets a hug and all that other stuff. And in the meantime, take care. See you later.